Hey, I'm Jonathan, and I live in London, England.
Hey, I'm Jeff, and I live in Perth, Australia.
Together, we are Ekko and Sidetrack.
We produce music that sounds like this.
And this.
And even this. This podcast is about music, creativity, and everything in between the giant space that separates us.
Welcome to A Band Apart with Ekko and Sidetrack. Jeff, it's a snow day today, and has been a snow day for the last 2 days.
And what does that mean, Jonathan?
It means there's children running in the street. It means trains and transport is all down. It means there's snowball fights between neighbours, people chuckling, people laughing, hot cross buns being made fresh out of the oven and delivered to the tired soldiers that have been fighting in the street. No, not really. It doesn't mean anything's different. It just means it's more difficult to walk outside and you could slip. And it's beautiful when you look outside. And it's quiet. The snow's got this magical... Like, it gets real quiet when it snows. I really enjoy it.
I suppose that would be because everything gets covered in a layer of stuff, so there's a lot less hard surfaces.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I never thought of it like that, but that actually makes perfect sense. Snow is basically like a sound absorber.
Yeah, cushioning.
If you're looking for studio treatment or soundproofing in your room, I would advise using snow, packing snow into the corners. It's durable, it's free, and definitely won't fuck up all the electronical equipment in your room.
Is electronical a word?
I don't think so, but I always say it.
You mean electrical?
Yeah, electrical.
It's electronics or electrical equipment, and you combine the two. I definitely
Electronical.
do. Electronic. It also makes it sound so technical. Like, could you pass me that electronical device you have there?
I'm going to start telling people I make electronical music.
Electronical is a good song name.
Electronical.
Electronical. The snow day must be a lovely thing to experience. How many times have you seen snow since you've been there? In London.
This is the fourth time? Third day this year and one day last year.
I suppose the UK doesn't really get much snow, so that's probably high.
Yeah, I mean, this is like an Arctic storm, I think. Someone referred to it as that, some sort of storm front coming down. But the snow that I experienced last year was like it snowed in the morning. The snow didn't settle. Whereas now, if you go outside, there's actual snow on the footpath and there's snow on roofs, and it feels a lot more gingerbread house kind of atmosphere.
Have you made a soup?
My housemate's actually making a French onion soup right now.
Delicious. Will they share it with you, or is it a kind of fend for yourself kind of situation?
Possibly. I'm not too sure. I'm actually going to a friend's house for dinner tonight, so...
What's the deal with the lockdowns at the moment? Are you allowed to attend a friend's house?
No. Legally, but if they're in my bubble...
They're in your bubble, though.
Fine.
He's in your bubble.
Yeah, I guess he is in my bubble because we do work together. But yeah, it's an interesting concept, the whole... I mean, it's not an interesting concept. You're just not allowed to be in other people's houses. There's no real grey area.
I haven't been paying attention. Is it working?
Yeah, I think the infection rates are lowering. Deaths are definitely lower. Vaccinations are up. There's talk of coming out of the lockdown in April. You hear different things. Like, I heard the other day that pubs are going to be open in late Feb, but not allowed to serve alcohol, which is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
That's quite strange. It's like people want to congregate, but you won't be able to buy liquor.
Yeah, well, the idea is that when people drink, they get less vigilant of the rules.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I suppose that does make sense, but
why the fuck would anyone go to a pub if you can't drink?
The crisps, Jonathan.
It's so dumb. I think it's so dumb. Like, if you're going to a place where you're close proximity to people anyway, I don't think drinking is going to make that much of a difference. You know, it's like you're going inside a house. You're going inside a room with people you don't know and are going to be within 2 meters of people at certain stages. So I mean, why wouldn't you just let it happen? I don't know. I think it's a bit of a silly idea, but
Yeah, because Perth's doing it's masks on everywhere kind of thing.
that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
How come?
Masks on when you're at a dinner table and you take it off to sip.
No. That's not the case. It's like you just take it off when you're at the restaurant. You take it off.
Okay. Oh, that's not what I was told.
Well, the problem with the things you get told, especially by people here, is that we've never experienced it, so we make up our own stupid rules. So on Friday,
Okay.
we went out for some drinks, and we were very confused by, like, you know, do I take it off? If I'm drinking, I'm allowed to have it off, and, you know, who knows? We didn't know the rules, but it definitely made us drink a bit faster. But once our food came, we just like hung out, and I left it off and hung it around my ear. I did actually go somewhere, walk into a place today without my mask, and it was in and out, but I was just like, oh, this feels normal. Oh my gosh, I'm not wearing my mask. Just, this podcast is already evidence against us. Cancel the whole thing. Yeah, I accidentally did it, and I went and grabbed my mask and walked back into the place. But it was, yeah, I can only imagine what it would be like having done this for months like you guys have. I also went to the gym for the first time today wearing a mask, and I felt like Bane.
Yeah, I don't know about the wearing a mask at a gym. Even when gyms were back open for us, I think it was November. It's the last time I went to the actual gym. You didn't have to wear a mask.
Yeah, I kind of think this whole mask wearing thing is in Perth is a bit of a like practice. Well, it's teaching us to wear masks so that if something does happen, it won't be the first time we have to wear masks.
And that makes a lot of sense.
And people are being very vigilant with it. Like, it's great to see people doing it, and yeah, who knows? Hopefully we can not wear them next week and things can start going back to a little bit of normalcy. But
I shouldn't say it's overkill. I think that's it's really good what the government's doing. They're being vigilant. They're being careful. I just feel like they're probably, I don't know, if one case happens and then everything shuts down. I guess that's just what has to happen to protect the whole of WA.
In our situation where we've got no cases and stuff like that, that's the kind of drastic measures they can take. Whereas you're basically living, we're the guy standing next to the pool of shit, and we get a bit of shit on our shirt, and we're like, I'm going to leave the party and clean my shirt. And you're like neck deep in shit, being like, it doesn't matter if we get a little bit dirty, guys. I got a bit of shit in my mouth earlier, and it just doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of shit in my mouth.
You said something on the last podcast. Did you want to revisit that, or were you happy with how that comes out? Because people, you got to remember, dear listener, that we just sit and have a conversation, and they're not very heavily edited or anything. And sometimes, I think I said at the end of the last podcast, we can be guilty of almost cutting ourselves off mid-thought or not properly making a point. So was there something you wanted to readdress, or are you happy to continue on?
No, I'll readdress it. I said something in the last podcast that when I was editing it and re-listening back, it kind of sounded like I was semi-supporting the people that stormed Congress, and also slightly comparing the people that stormed Congress to other movements, like Black Lives Matter movement, or like any of the other protests that we've seen in the last year. And that wasn't my intention at all. I think I was just kind of on a rant.
Can I try and unpack what you were trying to say?
Yeah, of course.
I think, dear listener, what my brother is trying to say, is or what you were trying to say is when people get together in groups of any kind, they have a lot of power, and people band together in groups when they're disenfranchised or when something common happens to them. The Black Lives Matter movement stems from the racial oppression that's been going on for years, and that's brought people together, and that's started a very powerful movement. the same kind of thing happened with stupidity and QAnon that brought people together to start a strong kind of movement. They are not the same kind of movement.
Yeah.
It is just people being brought together under circumstances in this climate that we live in that brings people together. Black Lives Matter is for the positive to overcome the oppression. QAnon and the people that stormed the Capitol is a group that came together, but what they were fighting for is absolutely ridiculous and inexcusable and stupid.
Yeah.
So what you were saying is that basically you were arguing that in these times of hardship and great tumultuous living, people band together with what they know, and people have never been more able to be coerced into believing silly things such as QAnon or felt empowered to join something like the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah. I think you articulated that very well.
I still don't know. I still don't know if I got there, though.
Maybe not.
I'm like so like, wrap it up.
Maybe in readdressing this, we're just digging ourselves deeper. But yeah, basically, it's interesting to listen back to yourself talk, and you realize how often you don't make a home run point. Like, man, listening back to that, I was like, what the fuck are you saying, man? Like, what the fuck are you saying, Jono? Like, I know this had a point. I know you kind of started off well, but it comes across a bit off. So yeah, I wanted to address that.
I don't think
slightly.
anyone thought you were supporting the Storm the Capitol movement, but it is good. It's an interesting point to come back to based on what you were saying about re-listening to yourself, because that's the amazing thing about life, Jonathan, is that it just moves forward in time. I remember, like, I've been DJing. We've been DJing, sorry. And a mistake happens. And if you're in your bedroom or something, you stop and you go, oh, I made a mistake. And you start the mix again and you do it. And you're like, I can't do that on the weekend. But on the weekend, if you do any sort of error, you just move forward. You just go on and people forget about it. It's not a big deal. It's the same in conversation.
Yeah.
You know, we've all been involved in conversations where the story should have stopped 5 sentences earlier, but they kept going because they loved the attention. But it doesn't matter because we just move forward. It's not like someone was holding a recording and being like, what we're going to do is we're going to tighten up your story and it's going to be heaps punchier and everyone's going to laugh heaps. It's just like we move on and no one's really remembering. We can only take in so much information and we can only react and respond to so much information as well.
And you really don't care when someone is telling a story someone tells a good story and then it goes a little too far. You very rarely go like, hey buddy, like I just wanted to let you know the story you told before, you should have cut that down.
Even you just remember that it was a funny story about the person going to the local chipper. You don't remember the finer details.
Yeah, exactly. You're completely right. And I guess this is a rare opportunity that we have to go back and listen to ourselves talk, essentially.
Yeah.
And can kind of like, you know, we can be quite harsh critics on ourselves. And it's interesting that we have a weekly conversation that goes for an hour that we then go back and listen to and critique and then edit down. It's kind of like self-authoring.
Yeah, and also
extent.
like encourage others to listen to. Like tune in to listen to me talk to my brother.
Do you ever feel like a wanker suggesting someone to listen to our podcast?
Yes, I do. But also I'm like, nah, tune in. Like, I don't know, there's definitely episodes that I've recommended to people, and then there's episodes I've spoken to someone and been like, last week's wasn't so good. Maybe you want to dive in on this episode or something. But I think it kind of just represents our mood now, place in time and things like that, because that's kind of what it is to do a weekly podcast, is a weekly catch-up, and the listeners are fly on the wall in our catch-up, and you know, they get to hear us discuss things. We're not presenting a sports show where we're talking about this weekend's games or last weekend's games. We're not even guests. where like I'm like, so Jonathan, you've just written a new book. Tell me more about the book, and we discuss the subject.
Yeah, there's no agenda.
Well, there is an agenda this week, Jonathan. I've got something to bring up.
Bombshell.
That agenda, Jonathan, is to only watch quality movies. And we touched on a few quality movies the other day that we were watching. Me and my girlfriend have a list that we refer to and we build upon so that we don't waste time watching shitty content or shitty documentaries or anything. And that list is growing, and it's really cool as we watch something in one vein, the other person goes, oh, I didn't know you'd like this. I've got like 5 more suggestions that are all like must watches in this vein or things I want to watch. And it's a really cool way to approach anything. It's like that concept of reading a book, and if you don't like it within the first 100 pages minus your age, then you can put it down because there's not enough time in your life to read crappy books or books that don't appeal to you. You know, like that classic thing is like everyone has to read Moby Dick. You don't have to. But if the classics appeal to you and you like Herman Melville's voice, then by all means dive in, pun intended. What did you watch the other day?
Right, so I said that I was going to watch 3 Billboards in Branson, Missouri.
Branson?
This is Bronson, Missouri. Hey, Ma, how about some cookies? No dice. This ain't over. A little bit of a Simpsons gag there for you. But that wasn't available. We in this house, we try to watch a film once a week when we're all together, and we kind of take turns in choosing them. So I chose Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, nice.
So I'll have to get to 3 Billboards another time when it's just me. But Jojo Rabbit was really good. I enjoyed it. It was funny, sad, poignant. Looked really nice. I give it a 6.5.
6.5. That's on my list. See, okay. This brings up. I have 2 questions, and feel free to answer them in whichever order you like. Your scale seems quite harsh. Let's take me through that. But also, I want to talk about watching movies with people. Do you find that you and them can fall into that thing of like, I'm not in the mood for that movie. I want to watch this kind of movie?
Absolutely. And I can fall into that mood when I'm by myself. You can definitely, when you watch anything with someone, you can see if they're into it, if they're laughing, if they're engaged. It kind of affects how you watch it. After going to the movies alone last year to see Tenet, I kind of think the best way to watch a movie sometimes is alone. So you're not affected by anything, any kind of outside influences.
Yeah, that's why alone in a cinema is a completely immersive experience. It's the original immersive media because there's a reason it's fucking dark.
Yeah,
and like there's meant to be just focus on the screen and be like, whoa, like I'm paying full attention.
And you don't really talk, you don't look at your phone when you're in a cinema. But at home, you talk, you make jokes, you can get up and go to the bathroom, you get some tea, some biscuits maybe, and you look at your phone. Like I found myself, I think I was quite tired as well because I started looking at the trivia for Jojo Rabbit about 30 minutes from the end.
Ooh, don't start doing that. That's something you read in bed afterwards or the next day over lunch.
Yeah, but I think I was just a bit, I guess that's why I give it a 6.5. Like, it was cool, but there were moments that were better than others. I felt some of the story, I don't think it was the best movie ever made. And
so a 6.5 is just an average movie. What happens if I said to you, give it a score out of 10 and you can't use a 6 or a 7? No, you can't use a 7.
I'd give it a 6.
You give it a 6. So that's like barely a pass.
It's 60%.
Yeah. What else is a 60% movie for you?
I'll tell you what's a 9 movie for me.
Go on.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Okay. I tend to agree.
You know what? A 6.5 to 7 movie is Centurion.
What?
With Michael Fassbender. Centurion, have you seen it? You should watch it. It's
Never
good.
seen it. I wouldn't watch a 6.5 on IMDb.
No, neither would I.
So where does your scale?
I only watch over 6.8.
So does your 6.5 correlates to their 7.5?
No, not at all. I think my 6.5 is my rating system is completely dependent on the film I am watching.
Take us through it, Jonathan.
If my favorite thing from a film is either art direction, cinematography, or a specific scene, then I don't think it should get over 7.
Because it wasn't strong enough as a piece of a whole piece of art.
As a cohesive piece of art and as like a story. Like, I really liked scenes in Jojo Rabbit. Some of the jokes didn't land as much for me as I would have liked them to, but there were some really strong scenes. And it was beautifully photographed, and it was funny in some parts. But it wasn't a home run.
What's a home run in the realm of Jojo Rabbit? What's a comparable movie? Like, same scenes, looks good, that kind of thing. This podcast just turned into a film podcast.
You're really putting me on the pot. You're really putting me on the spot here.
Because I kind of get what you mean. But if you said to me, "Oh, it's a 6.5," I'd be like, "Oh, I thought Scott Pilgrim versus the World's a 6.5."
Yeah, great example.
But how do you know?
Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Or maybe Baby Driver. Baby Driver's about a 6.5, I think.
Yeah, I didn't mind Baby Driver. I thought that Baby Driver was clever. I thought, like, I'd give Baby Driver a 7, but if I couldn't use a 7... Yeah, if you couldn't use a 7, what would you give it?
6.5.
Well, you can't give it a 0.5 either. Is it a 6 or an 8?
It's definitely not an 8, so it's a 6.
Well, that means you're a harsh critic because a lot of things are going to be falling in the 6 realm, aren't they?
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think that's as bad. You know, I don't even think a 5 is terrible.
5 is a pass.
5 is a pass. Like 6, I'd still watch a 6 movie. I'm not disappointed after I watch a film and I go, oh, that was about a 6.
What's an 8 for you?
Gladiator?
Interesting. I feel like you're really on that Centurion vibe, aren't you?
Really into 400 AD Rome at the moment.
Where does Almost Famous sit for you?
That's an 8.
I'm going to rattle off some movies. Inception.
8.
Wreck-It Ralph.
Oof. 9, 10 maybe. That could be one of the best movies ever made.
Field of Dreams.
6.
Forrest Gump.
8.
Saving Private Ryan.
8 or 9.
Face Off.
6.
The Avengers.
I rate all of the Marvel movies about a 7.
You can't use a 7. So that's what I mean.
Okay. So like...
Is Jojo Rabbit as good as a Marvel movie?
Different. So the Marvel movies, like, I'm not really into cartoons at all, but I enjoy them.
Do you rate Marvel movies on a through F scale rather than a number scale?
Yeah, maybe that. They're all about C plus B. But again, that's like 7.5. That's 7. I think the Marvel movies are great popcorn films. Like, if you're hungover and you want to watch a good movie,
watch Shawshank fucking Redemption.
that's a harrowing
Watch Last Crusade.
movie. So if you want a swashbuckling film, if you want a Last Crusade, watch The Avengers.
No, I reckon watch the first Iron Man.
Your first Iron Man's good. I haven't seen any of the other Iron Men.
I've seen a few Iron Men in my time.
People give Avengers shit because it's so like blockbustery and that kind of thing, but like, it's like Guardians of the Galaxy. Did you watch Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy is a 6 because I can't use a 7, but otherwise a 7. I thought the soundtrack was good, the story was cool.
Not using a 7 thing is bullshit, so let's just stop that.
Otherwise, everything falls into a 7 and means nothing. So I'm trying to get you to pick whether it's like closer to bad or it's actually closer to good. Because a 7 is just like, yeah, because you can just say a 7 about every movie.
So all the Marvel movies to me are just like, if you're hungover and want something that's like, it'll keep you a bit interested, and it's just a pretty decent run of films that successfully kept your interest. I think the Marvel movies are better than The Mandalorian. There, I said that.
I have not seen The Mandalorian.
Mandalorian is again technically amazing. Some of the acting is not that great. The technically it's good. The first season's better than the second season, but again, it's a bit. I don't think the writing's as good. I don't think the writing is as good in current films. I really want to watch Marriage Story, and I really want to watch The King of Staten Island, and they're films that I've heard are kind of really well written and good. But I think some of the writing in Hollywood blockbuster films is just a bit shit.
The story might be based on something that was okay.
Well, the story is just a bit pushed.
The script gets a bit loose. We recently watched The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Great movie.
An epic. And it was interesting to know that the original short story was written by F. Scott Fitzgerald, but it was written, there was another writer on it, but the main writer was the guy that wrote Forrest Gump. And he's written some absolute fire over the years. Like, he's written that style of movie several times. And sometimes you look at a modern movie and you're like, well, the writing was a bit weak in that. Like, it was all just a bit like that you didn't believe the characters almost, that kind of thing. And then you look at the writer and you're like, oh, he's just written for TV or something. I mean, we're getting too inside baseball in this whole thing, but I was wondering if you could recommend me 5 movies that I might. I'll recommend 5, and you recommend 5 that the listener may not have seen, in encouragement that people shouldn't waste their time. So give me 5 that people should see, and then give me 2 that people shouldn't waste their time with.
5 movies to watch
that are a little bit maybe left of center, that people might be like, oh, I haven't seen that, or I was thinking about that and I haven't seen it.
Okay. The Diving Bell and the Butterfly.
Great choice.
It's a French film. Another French film called Rosalie Blum.
Oh yeah, that's a lovely movie.
Garden State.
Okay.
Which I got reminded of the other day, but I remember really liking that. I really liked that film when I was a bit younger. Directed by Zach Braff. Kind of like teeny hipstery, but it's really good.
Quite melancholic.
The Fifth Element.
The Fifth Element is pure fire. Yes.
I think it's the greatest film ever made. That's probably my favorite film.
Yeah.
Because it hits all the targets.
It really does. I wish that second movie was better. I wish the one with Cara Delevingne in it. Alas, give me a comedy to round out your 5.
Galaxy Quest.
Tim Allen.
I think Tim Allen's funny.
Tim Allen is funny. Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman.
And you're saying like Galaxy Quest. That's
No.
Okay.
No. An actual banger of a comedy that's going to be my next film for choice is The Birdcage.
I was thinking you were going to say The Birdcage, but I didn't. Do you really think that, or do you just want to include something with Robin in it?
No, yeah. I actually think The Birdcage is so fucking funny. There's a point in films from the 90s that do involve Robin Williams, because I kind of get reminded of this when I think of Mrs. Doubtfire, that were just like this perfect balance between like campness, silliness, and The Birdcage to me feels like a Joel and Ethan Coen film almost. You know how in Joel and Ethan Coen film, like Fargo, The Man Who Wasn't There, Burn After Reading, True Grit, all the characters seem to be just like whimsical to a certain extent. They're kind of it's almost like theater. They're not particularly realistic. They're exaggerated versions of who they would be in real life. That's what I feel about The Birdcage, and that's why I think it's so funny. Like Hank Azaria as the butler.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't seen The Birdcage in years. That's worth a rewatch.
Nathan Lane is one of the funniest actors of all time, and I think he's so underrated.
He's very much of that New York theater kind of vibe.
Yeah, and they like all Steve Martin Short.
Yeah.
It's just like the over-the-top physical comedy, you know, I don't know. I just think that religious stuff really makes me giggle.
Okay, so your 5 were Fifth Element, Rosalie Plum, Diving Bell and the Butterfly, Birdcage, and Garden State. Bang.
Yeah.
And now 2 that you'd say that you'd tell people to miss.
Yeah, and this is going to be controversial. Moana.
I haven't seen it, wasn't planning on seeing it.
I felt like the story in Moana just wasn't hella strong. And I also don't think there were too many jokes. I was a bit disappointed in it.
I'm also going to tack Frozen onto that. I think Frozen can suck my dick. There's one good song in it, and it's Do You Want to Build a Snowman? And that's it. Otherwise, the story is weak. You can enjoy it if you have kids. And yes, some of the songs are very well written, but it's not a Disney movie. It's not a Disney movie in that same classic sense that Aladdin or The Little Mermaid, sorry. And Frozen, it is such a simple, boring story with nothing on the line that it annoys me. That's not my choice, but I'm just adding that into the hate pile. And number 2, I didn't know you'd seen Moana, Jonathan.
I watched it last weekend. I don't know. I just wanted something light, and I've got Disney Plus, and that's a it's on my list. I'm trying to get through a massive list, basically, and I saw it. I was on it.
You should have just watched Coco.
No, I've seen Coco. I love Coco. Such a good movie.
We watched it on the plane, remember? I watched it again the other day. I showed Holly the first time, and she was like, "This is amazing." And do you know what's... Yeah, I'll get to my...
Absolutely amazing.
Okay, what's another one people can miss? Maybe with human bodies in it, not an animated form.
Knives Out.
What? I disagree, but okay.
Okay, so if Knives Out wasn't directed by Rian Johnson and didn't have that absolutely stunningly beautiful Spanish woman whose name I can't recall at the moment in it, I would... And if it also wasn't shot as nicely, it is really, really well shot. I would think the story was kind of lacking.
I think it's a really cool whodunit. I think it's really cool, and I love how it's done, and I would watch it again. In fact, it's on my list of movies to watch. Not the list of 5 that I'm going to present to you now and the listener, but it is on the list. So interesting, controversial, but I like a good controversy.
I'm happy to watch these films again, but that was the last movie that I remember finishing and just being like, oh. Actually, you know what? Dredd. I watched half of Dredd and turned that off. Fuck that movie.
I don't know what Dredd is.
It's a remake of Judge Dredd.
Well, you could basically skip the original as well, if I'm perfectly honest.
Okay, so what are your 5?
I think Brick.
Great choice.
By Rian Johnson. It's his first movie.
I would agree with that.
If you, as a special edition that's not part of my 5, also check out The Brothers Bloom. If you like swashbuckling stories, that's a modern that's a modern vibe. Indiana Jones, not Indiana Jones, but fucking swashbuckling.
Brothers Bloom is a fantastic, fantastic fucking swashbuckling tale that feels, it feels like Indiana Jones. I think that is one of the modern day examples of that captures the swashbuckling essence that you and I look for so often at 3:00 on a Sunday afternoon when we're hungover and about to eat a continental roll.
And maybe there's some corn chips to eat as we hit the 90-minute mark.
Yes, and possibly some ice creams as well. It's just started to rain.
Oh, is there water with bubbles in it? I fucking hope so.
There is water with bubbles in it. And then when it comes to like 6, we decide we're going to watch another movie. Culver walks in and says, "Hey, I was thinking we should get Stone's Pizza tonight."
Oh, so true, so true.
That's a fucking Sunday. Maybe even we're not so hungover, like we're hungover, but not so hungover we can't drink again. And with the Stone's Pizza, we have a nice bottle of wine.
And that leads us into our night out, and we just go bananas. And then we do it again the next day, with this time with a grazing board and a series of other movies.
Oh, Yeah, okay.
The world's fattest movie critic brothers are coming to a cinema near you.
Right, so Brothers Bloom, Brick.
Brick. Special mention to the Brothers Bloom. I think Life is Beautiful, if you haven't seen it.
You know what? I have never seen that.
Life is Beautiful is a spectacular movie. Italian. It won the Oscar in 1995, 96.
For Best Foreign Film?
Sometime in the 90s, and Robert Benigni got very, very excited at the Oscars. Life is Beautiful. Amazing movie about World War II. As a comedy, I think Grandma's Boy is a movie I recommend to people.
Man, Grandma's Boys is such a funny movie.
Like an under the radar comedy, just go on with no expectations, but just prepare to laugh. If I can slide another special mention, I know I'm breaking the rules. I also really enjoyed Booksmart. That's a recent comedy.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen Booksmart.
Booksmart's very good. What do we need? Some sort of
Munich?
So you love Eric Bana and Steven Spielberg a little bit more than I do.
I don't love Eric Bana. I think Steven Spielberg just makes bangers, man. And he spent the 90s just making banger after banger after banger.
Yeah, he really did. People might not have missed it, but I thought Argo was very good.
I remember feeling disappointed after I watched it, but I'll watch it again. But stressed.
It's not like a top 10 movies ever made, but it's maybe something that people missed. And what was it? I've got Brick, I've got Argo, I've got Grandma's Boy.
Brick, Argo, Grandma's Boys, Life is Beautiful.
Life is Beautiful.
Booksmart.
Booksmart, Brothers Bloom.
Or was Booksmart additional?
Yeah, it's just additional. I'm going to throw, I kind of want to say Ratatouille, but everyone's probably seen it by now. That movie's beautiful.
I should have put Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou in mine.
Ooh. Wes Anderson has not been mentioned.
Or Rushmore. Oh, I mean, this is why this doesn't work, because it's there's too many.
It's just a top 5. It's not. I mean, it's not even a top 5. It's not Raya. She's leaving.
See you, Rayo.
It's not a top 5. It's just a 5 recommendation. So I'll say, I think Grand Budapest Hotel. I think the sets in that are lovely, and I love the story. And
I've only seen that once.
I think I've only seen it twice, but I'd like to watch it again. Yeah, so they're my 5: Brick, Grand Budapest Hotel, Grandma's Boy, Life is Beautiful, and actually fuck Argo off and replace it with Ratatouille. But Argo is great.
Yeah, I think that's a good move. I don't know why I'd leave Argo in there, but yeah.
And my 2 that people can miss, Soul.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You can skip Soul and not feel bad. Go and rewatch Inside Out, and it's better. Go and watch Coco if you haven't seen it already, and go and watch Finding Dory. It's a better movie.
Finding Dory?
Yep.
The fuck are you talking about?
Finding Dory's not bad.
I've never seen it.
Finding Dory's it's it repeats some things, but it also has some of its own themes, and it's a lovely movie. It's kind of a bit more of a comedic edge and everything like that. But Soul is a little bit. I like the world. I love the concept, but the story itself is quite weak and confused, and it's basically just a bunch of scenes that are kind of inspiring. And the character didn't have enough on the line. And put it this way, watch the first 5 minutes of Coco versus the first 5 minutes of Soul and tell me which one you're in for. You understand what's on the line in Coco.
Yeah.
In Soul, you're just this guy's a teacher, and I don't think he wants to be a teacher. Okay.
Yeah, I thought Jamie Foxx's character was just a bit of a dick.
Yeah, he wasn't very likable. There was no protagonist. It was, and the other character, Tina Fey's character, wasn't very likable. In all, no one's very likable.
Yeah, Soul has an 8.1 on IMDb.
Yeah, well, people are wrong. People are wrong.
I do love the
I understand.
I do love the concept of it, and I love like the moon wind character, and the whole like you going to a place when you're in the zone. Like I love that stuff.
Absolutely. I love that stuff. I love that concept. I just think the story they told within those concepts. I also thought the New Zealand woman was terribly cast as that character that goes through all the filing cabinets. I kind of liked that.
But I felt like that wasn't. There's actually like no antagonist in that film.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think that's the issue. There's.
So I said protagonist. There is actually there's no antagonist. Yes, you're quite correct.
And I think you could have had someone in there to work against. You know, there's the best Pixar films. There's always an evil. There's always not an evil person, but there's always like
something to overcome.
Like you think about Up, and how, spoiler alert, the guy at the end, towards the end of Up, become the guy that
Christopher Plummer's character. Shout out to Christopher Plummer, who recently died.
Or like he gets to the end and he suddenly becomes evil. Or like Monsters Inc. with the guy that owns the company suddenly becomes evil. I feel like Soul lacks the antagonist of someone working against the two protagonists. It's almost like the protagonists just kind of fuck themselves up. And like, I mean, that's like a theme, or that's a feeling that I've never liked in movies. Like, I don't like Mr. Magoo as a movie because, like, the main character is just like he fucks himself all the time.
Also, brief special mention: Wrongfully Accused or any of the Naked Guns are well worth a watch. Damn. Leslie Nielsen is a fucking
Just go watch
treasure.
anything with Leslie Nielsen in it, man. Scary Movie 3 is worthwhile watching 100% for every single thing Leslie Nielsen says. When he's having a press conference and Ja Rule is his security guard, that is one of the funniest scenes ever. Oh, fucking... This whole podcast is just like movies recommendations, but also Hot Shots, man. Hot Shots 1, 2, and 3 with Charlie Sheen.
The spoof movie doesn't exist anymore.
No.
Because Hollywood killed it by writing their own spoofs of spoofs. Like Scary Movie did it, and then it just completely jumped the shark with like Date Movie and all this kind of stuff.
They were so like, yeah. That was a joke. But I mean, they could get back to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just think it has to die for a bit, and it probably has by now. The second movie that you can skip, it's hard to give another one to skip because some movies cross my mind, and I'm just like, yeah, it's just a bit crap. I was like, I wouldn't tell anyone not to watch it. It wouldn't come up.
To be honest, like I would never tell anyone not to watch a movie, simply because I've said that I would skip Moana, but that's just because I was in the, like, it's so subjective. I was not in the right mood for it. I wanted something a bit deeper at the time. But that movie might speak to someone else completely differently to it than it does to me. Like, I truly believe that there's a reason why certain movies have a high rating and are so beloved by people. And sometimes sometimes what you want and what you like and what you align with just doesn't match up with that. So I find it difficult to say to someone like, never watch that movie, because I don't know how they're going to respond to it.
That's true. And we also are fully grown adult men, and two of our movies that we said don't watch would be classified as kids' movies.
Oh, yeah. But that said, we also like love kids' movies. Oh, man, The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Fucking everyone should go watch The Princess Bride if they haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Before the remake. Apparently they're remaking it. Just before the remake happens, go watch The Princess Bride.
I don't believe I will not honor the remake. I do not agree. I'm just trying to think of a last movie, and maybe something a little bit, I don't know.
To skip?
Controversial. Yeah, to skip. I can't. Again, maybe that means that I'm winning my little game of only trying to watch fire content.
Oh, you know what? A movie you can skip? Tag.
Oh yeah, that's a skippable genre. That's like movies you watch on the plane fourth as you're dozing off with a Xanax. I feel like Seth Rogen has really fallen off. I haven't seen American Pickle, but it doesn't look funny, and I think his movie with Charlize Theron was shit.
I
watched that on the plane.
I kind of liked that movie. But that's because I just like Charlize Theron and I like Seth Rogen.
I like Seth Rogen as well, but I thought it was just a bit of a vehicle for him to kiss her. I don't know. What was that vegetable
Sausage
movie
Party.
where they were food? Sausage Party. Didn't watch it. Turned it off after 15 minutes. Thought the animation sucked. Jokes weren't funny at all. And I could tell it was going to be just like one-dimensional. And yeah, fuck that movie. You couldn't tell me like, nah, man, it's good. Watch it again. I'd say no.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people tell me I should watch that, but I just didn't.
I'm like, so you don't know what funny things are. Now I know. It's all subjective, and we do sound like know-it-all assholes, and we don't. We're not.
Nor have we.
We're not actors, directors.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, I have directed a film, but that's by the by. I'm on IMDb, Jeff. So
you are. Let's celebrate that.
Yeah, let's celebrate that. No, let's director. Fifth one down. Director. A Dirty Windscreen, 2009. I remember I tried to add trivia to my own film.
Me and my brother actually wrote the score together using
a few
Ableton
hours before we had to hand the film in.
And I'm pretty sure it's just like rising like
it's pretty good. Should have seen the other films, Jeff. That's all I'm gonna say.
True.
Well, we just listed off films we like for the last 30 minutes. Have we got anything else you want to say?
What it does is furthers my, what I was saying about watching quality and not being exposed to crap, because I think there's a lot of
people do ingest a lot of crap. Like, it's quite interesting to see the wave of like how either a TV show or how a film or a documentary kind of sweeps the whole of society, or at least the whole of Western society as we know it. It's like Tiger King.
I haven't seen it.
It's like it comes out and then people start talking about it on social media, and then memes start to happen, and then everyone watches it, and it goes through this kind of cycle of like, that's the cycle shows or movies tend to ride now. Same with Bridgerton, same with the Queen's Gambit.
Didn't see it.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and that's what confuses things for being good, because it's out there and everywhere. People think that it's good, and it's the same concept with pop music. Yes, maybe it's a good song for some people, but there's also this concept of like, by saturating the market, it becomes so common that it gets catchy that you start to like it.
Yeah.
Like if radio plays the song 15 times a week and you listen to radio, first time you hear it, you can be like, I do not like that new Christina Aguilera song. And by the 10th time, you're like, I am a dirty girl. I really like that bit where Method Man comes in. Like,
yeah.
I mean, they're catchy songs and whatever, but I'm just saying that like this is exactly the thing. Like, saturation stands in for actual quality. It's like, wow, loads of people have seen it. I want to participate in the water cooler conversation. I'm going to watch it. I really liked that.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, and then you're like, wow, that must be good. And you're like, well, it's not really. It's just popular.
You kind of get trapped into
some sort of a barrel.
No, well, like not having an unpopular opinion about a show that, if everyone likes it, you're supposed to like it.
I say fuck Suits as well while we're talking about that.
Yeah, I've never watched it. Don't really care to. I think it's crazy that things are so subjective. Like, if you really like Christina Aguilera, like how many times do you hear something and you go, I don't really like this, and someone goes, oh, this is Christina Aguilera's new song, and you go, oh, I really like her. Oh, I'm going to give it another chance, and then you find the things you like about it. Like, I would guarantee people like our podcast or people like our music slightly more because they like us as people.
Yeah, totally. And that's what, having a forward-facing personality is good for. That's why celebrities are celebrities.
That's across art in everything. Like, I like this person, so I like what they did, so I'm going to enjoy this piece of art.
Yeah.
So if you were just completely objective, I think I said it before about Knives Out. I said I really like Rian Johnson, but if he didn't direct it, I would have given that film a lower score.
Yeah. Another thing to consider is that I heard someone else say this. I think it was on a podcast. Someone said it's easy to bash or like say that that's a shit movie or a shit piece of music. But then what you also have to consider is, before I say that, just remember that it's like, it's not made for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not their market, and I'm not even someone that they think in their periphery that it's going to appeal to. So that's like me trying on a dress and saying like, this doesn't fit, and that's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not for you, sir.
Yeah. What I think about Moana or what you think about Frozen. Like, we're not the market, so we're not supposed to love it.
Yeah. I can still like it, but it's just so not directed towards me that it would be more common for me to not like it than to like it. So that's something to think about with everything.
That's what also makes it so special when a piece of art transcends who it's made for, who's the target market is. And it just transcends time, space and time, and everyone just likes it. Like, think of songs that, like, fucking a David Bowie song or a Michael Jackson song or, like, maybe even some Steven Spielberg films, if we're going to keep on this film route. Like, they transcend genre. They transcend anything, and they just become a classic forever and for any age.
There's been so many movies about sharks, Jono, but as far as anyone's concerned, it's still all about a movie made in the 70s.
Yeah. Right.
It's Jaws, and then very, very far behind Deep Blue Sea,
Yeah.
and then that's
it. That's it. Jaws 3 if you want to laugh, or Jaws the Revenge if you want to see the downfall of Michael Caine. Yeah, man, you think of with music, like if you play a Bruno Mars song, to mum and dad, or if you play a Bruno Mars song to a 4-year-old, it's probably gonna make the move.
Yeah.
Or like there's some undeniable pieces of art that just like transcend everything. Like, oh yeah, this is great. It's not 100% my cup of tea, but I can see how this is a great song.
If My Heart Will Go On was not on Titanic, it would still be a great song.
Yeah. Hundy P.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I also think it's a good way to think about all art and appreciate all art, and because it all has a place and it all was created. And it's like, that's the magic of it, I suppose. And I think as things get too niche or too focus group based, like we think kids 8 to 11 are going to love this. So we've put like bright colors in and we made it taste like this. And, there's a character that has this, like that's kind of, that can work to produce a hit, but it can also be so obvious that you're trying to make a hit that it's gross.
I don't know if Netflix are doing this. I would only assume they are. But think about all the information Netflix has on like all of our watching patterns. They know when we stopped watching certain movies. They know how old we are, where we live, what kind of things we're watching. So they can basically deduce all this information and go, okay, we're going to make a movie. Everyone loved Gossip Girl. and everyone loves, everyone loved Gossip Girl, and everyone loves Downtown Abbey. So what happens if we made a show and mixed those together?
Abbey.
Downtown Abbey? Downtown Abbey. Downtown Abbey.
Welcome to Downtown Abbey. Hey, my name's Downtown Abbey. He's a New York taxi driver.
Downtown Abbey sounds like a show about like a mistress in a brothel that was called Downtown Abbey. And it's a story about the brothel in like the 1930s in New York. So the mixture of those two things is Bridgerton. Now, I don't know. I don't know if it's the same writer or what other connections, or if they even did that. But hypothetically,
I don't think it's Jane Austen. No,
that's hypothetically. You could do that. You could just take all this information about people's viewing habits and make a show that was completely catered to them, to the point where you knew the timestamp of like when should the main character hit their first set of problems. And I mean, that already exists. There's like a structure that screenplays and films basically stick to. There's the 3-act structure, but that is quite malleable and it's kind of general. But you could do shot by shot analysis now about what people want with the amount of information that Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney Plus now have about all our watching habits, and I'm sure it's being done. That information must be being used for that.
Man, and that's the thing. I think with all the information that Netflix and these companies have, their movies should be way better. Netflix movies suck. They look good in a trailer. They're good for like 3 minute. There's little clips you'd pull out and put on YouTube. There's like scenes. They've got good actors in them. But if you watch them as a whole, you're like, you spent how many $1 million on this? Fuck, man. Give someone half that and make it a good thing. Not all Netflix things are shit, but the large swath of them are quite crap. Particularly their feature films. Their TV shows are up to par, but I'd say their feature films should be better based on the amount of data. It just comes back to that Derek Sivers quote, man. If more information was the answer, we'd all be millionaires with six-pack abs, but it's not.
Yeah, that's
which is the amazing thing about how a great story can just cut through and exist, and people are like, have you seen that movie? And like, oh no, is it good? And then it just like Hunt for the Wilder People is a beautiful like story that like is hilarious and great fun and speaks to people, and that was created independent of the machine, so to speak. And it, I just think, in this modern age, they should be doing more with all that data rather than just hoarding it and being like, we can sell more. Because at the end of the day, something like Netflix, their biggest competition isn't other movies or other streaming services. It's your time. It's your attention. All they want you to do is keep you watching. What's next? This. Keep paying that $9 a month to us. It's even more expensive than $9.
I think it's gone up.
That's what it has. It's gone up to 15. Yeah, but that's Australian. But they're just trying to keep you on the hook. They just want your money. That's the subscription model. And you can go, I'm sitting here saying how crap all their movies are and stuff, but I'm not about to get rid of my subscription because I enjoy having the access there. But Jonathan, we really have dived into a medium depth on some of the movies we've enjoyed recently, and we've given some good recommendations. And I think it's nearly time for us to depart each other's company. Is there anything, any final words you'd like to give? And I think next week we should have a demo song as well. We haven't done a demo in a while.
Okay. I think that's a good idea. Do I have any parting words? Yeah, I do. Whether you're in London or whether you're in Perth or whether you're in America or Europe or Asia, maybe you're in Africa, whatever continent you're in, be nice to people. Every day, look at someone and smile and ask them how their day was. because those little interactions make a world of difference.
Well said. And enjoy the movies that you enjoy, and try not to waste your time with things that you may have a hunch aren't very good.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to turn off something. Just
I agree.
the same as if a person in your life wasn't serving you. Don't be afraid to tell them to go get fucked. Don't
Shut
be
them
afraid.
down.
Don't be afraid to stop watching a film or stop reading a book or stop listening to a song.
It's good practice to stop doing something like, oh, this book isn't very good, this movie isn't very good, because it means you get better at saying no and making an active choice rather than just going like, oh, I suppose I'll just watch it.
Yeah.
I suppose I'll just keep doing this. I suppose I'll stay in this relationship that is kind of shit. So maybe, the little things are the big things. If you can make those little active choices, then you'll get better at making bigger active choices with more consequences.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
It is. Jonathan, do you know what else is a good thing? Doing this podcast every week with you. My brother, I love you and I enjoy it every week. And I can't wait to talk to you again.
Thanks, buddy. I feel exactly the same way. I'll see you next week.
Maybe before.
Probably before, but I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Face, buddy.
All right, man. See ya.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on your podcast app and keep up to date with all new episodes. They're going to be coming out once a week. We are Ekko and Sidetrack on Facebook and Instagram. On Twitter, we are Ekko Sidetrack. Go listen to our music on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, or wherever your ears consume happiness. Lots of love, people.